Well, I tried this before, but it was in the mountains of North Carolina, and so the connection was awful. So I'm going to try to do this again. We're at a dog park. With me, as always, is Ike. Today we're going to be talking, hopefully briefly, about Neal Asher. Neal Asher is basically the Tom Clancy of the sci-fi set. He writes fairly good, solid military science fiction and espionage fiction. I would put him above, in terms of quality, David Weber with his Honor Harrington series, or also the guy who writes the Lost Fleet series, which gets a little too excited at times about its own cleverness. Neal Asher's work focuses on espionage in the James Bond blow everything up rather than actually finding out what the hell is happening sort of style. And it does a decent job of that. These are rip-roaring tales for the most part. If you are looking for that sort of thing, the only difficulty is they're a bit long given the content. It's hard to sustain action for as long as the books are, and Asher sadly can't do it. But then again, I don't think I've seen anybody who could, so that's not really a bash against Asher himself. His politics are a little bit wonky, which is to be expected from a British writer of his generation. His belief system portrayed in the series is interesting, but not sufficiently interesting to merit much discussion here. On the whole, if you are looking for something action-oriented, where things blow up for no reason and massive numbers of people die also for no reason other than to establish the peril of the situation, Neal Asher's a good pick. However, this leads to my critiques with Asher, which is that fundamentally, in terms of stories which have more depth, he doesn't have it. Again, I don't know if this is a criticism of Asher so much as a criticism of the subgenre he's working in. So there is that. I will recommend, if you want better espionage work, Keith Lamar wrote a series of satires for a spy named Retief, which does roughly the same thing, but without all the blowing up and hyper-violence. Because Neal Asher seems to really love his hyper-violence. That, again, is something that's common from the British writers of his era. So I'm not sure if that's just from the culture, or if he just happens to like hyper-violence. So, that said, let's get to another issue I have. Neal Asher falls in love with his own tech sometimes. He doesn't do it as badly as the Honor Harrington or Lost Fleet series, both of which seem to be screaming out in all capitals about some sort of tech they've done in the series that they think is somehow significant, but really is like, okay, you got a bigger space carrier, that's nice, you know, or you figured out another way for something to blow something else up, that's good. I mean, for action sequences, that's kind of neat, but for much else, you don't need to dwell on, and especially not put exclamation points after your after the fact that this is a 5 times bigger destroyer or something like this. Again, I'm not sure if this is really a criticism of those authors as much as the genre, so take that as you will. That's not to say those books aren't fun, they just get very repetitive very fast. Neal Asher's don't get repetitive, which is a very good thing, and that's one of the many reasons why he's better than the others. With that said, I have finished the Honor Harrington series, and I don't know whether or not I'm going to finish Neal Asher's books. I kind of want to, but on the other hand, the length of the books and the constant violence seems, I don't know, rather dull in the way a pure action flick is. So I'd like to give him more credit that I think he deserves it. Okay, so to sum up, Neal Asher, very, very good at what he's doing, which is military / quasi-espionage science fiction. Not so good at depth or concept, which is okay. These are basically the equivalent of the summer reading, and it's high quality summer reading. I will never begrudge somebody for wanting just something absolutely full on the way that these books are. So, not for me, I think, maybe, but definitely for a lot of you. Take care. This has been Joseph Cadotte for Old Sins, and I got several books. You can find them under the facebook.com/oldsins site, as does my partner, Elizabeth Hines, who has published a book recently called Colorblind. Read it and tell her to start writing her next book. Good day.